Okay, after reviewing the film, um, there were quite a few good things in there, believe it or not, and many things that we need to clean up. So, as I felt during the game, it was a lot like that. I didn't feel like we complemented each other very well at all. There were times when the defense had a stretch of 5-6 possessions in a row where we were going 3 and out and stopping them. In the offense, either didn't get a first down, had a turnover, just stopping ourselves. I felt like we were poor with pre-snap penalties in general, and then didn't complement each other. Like when the offense did start fast and get a touchdown to start the game, we give up a long drive on defense and let it get to 7-7. So it was just one of those games, kind of aggravating. Let them hang around, and if you do that, that's what can happen. You can lose a game that way. Proud of our guys making the plays offensively, finally piecing together a 75-yard drive and converting with a touchdown pass to put us ahead, and Ty making the big pick, and defensively making the stop when we had to. Definitely much closer than we all wanted to. There's a lot of things to learn from that, a lot of things, as I mentioned after the game, that's true, that we can learn from, we need to get better at, and we need to do a better job when we're put in that position. There's going to come times when you play 12 games where there's going to be some ups and downs. I told you all that before the season. There's going to be ups and downs. I tell the team that all the time. There's going to be a lot of momentum swings throughout this season and game to game. There's good and bad. It's how you handle it. We have to learn from the mistakes that we made in this game, be better in our preparation starting today with the players. I think it all starts throughout the week. If everybody's doing everything humanly possible to put yourself in a successful position each day, then you could live with the results and not worry about the results. I'm not sure we did a great job of that a week ago. I have to get that corrected. Looking forward to playing South Carolina. It's always a fun game, very challenging. Definitely a great environment down there on the road, and they're doing a very good job, Coach Beamer, with the change. You can see the energy and the excitement down there, and they're playing very good football, and we're looking forward to the challenge of going down there and playing them, trying to get another SEC East victory, and it's a big game for us.
Mark, what specifically on the bad side that you mentioned in the beginning that you guys have to clean up with?
There's a lot of things. I think it starts with the focus and the discipline to take care of your job. Guys feeling like they need to go out there and do something that's about them and not about the other 10 guys that they're playing with, during the play. Some individual things that are going on. There's some things, we could call better. There's many. I'm not just blaming any one person, any one player. We're all in this together. I said after the game, and I mean that, it starts with me getting them prepared, and I have to do a better job at getting their attention and getting them on the same page.
Even after the game, talked about, y'all really wanted to come in and throw it around a little bit, or at least that's what he said. He seemed pretty, forthcoming with kind of the preparation and that. You wanted to take it easy with Chris. Did that lead into or play into the way the kind of offense played on?
Well, there was nothing about taking it easy on Chris. It was simply working on us and throwing the ball. Throwing the ball. They when we were in our quick game and spreading them out, we were 9 of 10. The only one we converted was late in the game. We didn't convert was late in the game, and it was on a 3rd down, and Will, should have stayed to the front side where he was looking. He had Isaiah for a 1st down. We went back late to the field to Mondell, and it was incomplete. Otherwise, we're 10 of 10, spreading them out and going quick game. And then there's parts of you again that say, why did you get away from the run? Again, we're just being honest, it happens during the game when you only have 20 plays in the second half. Nothing's what you want it to be, right? You know, there's just not enough snaps, and that's our fault. You know, we had a couple conversions that we didn't make and fell a little bit short. And then again, the defense was, you know, we had all those 3 and outs in the first half. In the second half, they didn't have one. And then the pick six that's a whole lost possession for the offense. And defensively go out there and give it up again. I didn't add the 2 time of possessions together on those 2 drives, but I would imagine they're significant. You know,
of the mistakes you saw, are any of these things becoming a theme over 3 weeks, or is that kind of a?
I mean, it isn't any one thing to me. You know, I'll tell you this: if we didn't improve in the areas we did, then we would have lost that game. Because Will made some really good throws. You know, and we made some really good plays. And then we missed some.
Defensively, you had 9 quarterback hurries, but no sacks. That feels like it's kind of hard to do.
Well, if you watch the game, you see how fast he's throwing the ball. He's not. I mean, they were well coached now. I mean, that kid was. I mean, you don't want to be reckless with the ball. I mean, you know what I mean. He was getting rid of it, and you know, the pressure again caused an interception for a touchdown. So, I mean, I'm glad we didn't get the sack there.
Mark, how much of a relief was it to see Terrell get that pick six, being that Chattanooga wasn't flinching, as to use your term, flinching or backing down?
Yeah. Without a doubt, we let them keep it close. You know, every time we had a chance to go up, you know, once we get the pick six, I'd like to see us come right back with a 3 and out, because I want to say the possession before that, the offense went 75 yards for a touchdown. So that's where the complimentary football really didn't take place. But obviously, that was a very big play.
Is Jordan Wright expected to be back?
Yeah, he is.
And was Goodfellow, was he punting better, or was that an injury?
Both.
Are you going to keep riding that?
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that.
Mark, I'm not a coach, so it always intrigues me how tough coaches are on themselves after a game like that. Liam, I mean, he said he sucked. That his words, not mine. He said he didn't plan well. He didn't call a good game. He got greedy. He didn't put people in proper positions. How are we kind of supposed to interpret that? I mean, the honeymoon's not over, is it?
Well, you know, Liam's been a little bit hard on himself, you know, that way. That's, you know, you got to realize you can't give you guys all those nuggets. So, you know, because I don't mean this in any way to undermine what y'all do, because I appreciate you, but it's like you can't do that, because when you want to use it against them, you will. True or not true? Right. So, you know, so you know, and so you can't. You got to learn. Believe me, I bite my tongue. We want to be honest. You can tell I try to be honest with you, with the way I talk, with what we say, with, you know, frustration, being honest, without giving you those nuggets. So he'll learn that.
Mark,
because sooner or later, you guys are going to pull those words out and run them over with a bus.
Mark, do you appreciate the challenge that Chattanooga gave you as you go into the South Carolina game in the conference play?
Pardon me?
Can you appreciate the challenge that Chattanooga gave you as you go into conference play?
Well, definitely. Again, you got to learn from it, you know, and I think it'll motivate our guys, make them hungry. I know I hate to be like that, but I mean, let's be honest, I try everything in my power not, you know, to have them let down, but I think they all just wanted to wrap that game up, put it aside, and move on. You know, and you can't do that. We all know you can't do that. But I think in their minds, it's just hard to, you know, and you know, I think Liam, you know, again, getting back to that question, I thought we did some really good things. And, you know, he can't, and it's, again, you don't want to throw Will under the bus, but I mean, there were some shots in that possession where we had, in our drive chart where we had, you know, we go TD, punt, TD, interception, punt, fumble, punt, interception. Well, during those drives, there was 1 or 2 plays that were set up absolutely to perfection. That is straight up a touchdown, and we just missed it. You know what I mean? And he can't control that. You know, he throws that shot, we get it, we score. He's a genius again. didn't happen. So it'll come. You know, both, I think Will puts a lot of pressure on himself, and I think Liam puts a lot of pressure on himself. You know, and everything's not always perfect, but there were some really well-designed plays, and there, Will did a very good job of stepping up and throwing some passes that, again, you're like, wow, that's impressive. Haven't seen that around here for a while. And there were some beautiful play designs that we just were a fraction off. But I promise you, as a defensive guy, as you're watching that, you're saying, okay, hold on, because it was there.
Mark, because of the weird season last year, it's been almost 2 years since you guys have played in front of a packed house in a road game. Do you do anything different this week to prepare?
I do.
those young
I do. It's make these guys aware of it, you know, because we do have 2 classes and a significant amount of guys that haven't been in this environment, and we're going to address it. I mean, I'm not going to worry, you know, overdo it, but yeah, they have to understand. You know, and I could go to the game. I need to pull it out. Matter of fact, I want to pull it out, but I mean, two times ago we go down there. First play of the game, bam, place erupts, goes nuts. We throw an interception in first possession, bam, goes nuts. Settle in, we take full control the rest of the whole first half, but you got to take those shots sometimes in these environments. It gets, and they do. They just need to understand that, hey, if we get hit on the chin, you gotta stand back up and play the next play. So we talk about it, just make them aware, but I don't need to overdo it.
Well, the 2 long runs that Chattanooga had, that 48-yarder in the first half, 32, so were those just missed assignments on your part? Or
yeah, it was very correctable. Part of it is some guys asking what, you know, to do what we were doing, you know, and uncharacteristic. The first one, you know, it should have been to me, it should have been a 10, 12-yard gain, you know, with Yusuf replacing and overrun, you know, not at all his fault, but it was inside. One of our inside guys didn't get across, but Yusuf could have been better cleaning up, and then our middle third guy missed as well. So, you know, very fixable as far as not turning into a 30-yard run, more like a 10-yard run.
You mentioned Shane's energy, you know, that he's brought to South Carolina. Do you see any tendencies between him and what his dad did for so many years at all?
Him and what his dad did?
And his dad, yeah. Do you see any tendencies between the 2?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm sure the basis of what he does, you know, comes from, you know, his background and, you know, who he is. I would think. I'm just thinking in my own situation, you know, but you have to be your own self. You have to be authentic. And he's obviously being him, you know, with, I'm sure, taking all the lessons and, you know, just being around his father and all that his whole life. So I again, I can't get in his head. You know, I just think he's done a very good job and seems to be authentic, because if you're not authentic in this business, it's not going to work. You know, so he can't be his father, but I'm sure there's many things he's learned, you know.
Mark, Frank Beamer obviously was known for special teams and, you know, having, you know, trick plays on special teams and stuff. Is that something, you know, Shane obviously is not Frank, but is that something you have to be aware of?
Well, definitely, because Shane's background is heavy in special teams as well. So, you know, they have a lot of time, and it's a point of emphasis. And so over the years, you know, there's things in there. So yeah, for me, we have to not be stagnant and not give same looks, and definitely change things up to not be predictable.
Mark, in what sort of ways were you kind of similar to what your dad believed in football, and what ways did you kind of diverge from that? Like,
well, you know, it just, I think the basic principles, the foundation of, you know, what I learned from my father growing up around, you know, from a young child being around football and being around the program and spending time with him, and you just, you know, I think the big thing is the work ethic, the discipline that it comes with it. You know, philosophically, not very much, you know, for me. Even if you go back and pull up some of my dad's, you know, film, you'll see some carryover, you'll see a lot of similarities, but that's just by accident a lot of times, you know. So I'm not going back studying my dad's high school film, but I just think it just sinks in. It becomes, you know, a lot who we are, you know, at least my family, And I would think probably Shane much the same, just from listening to him and listening to his interviews and listening to him talk, you know, and can't help but have great respect for his father, and we all do as coaches, you know, have a great appreciation. I had some great games. I mean, I've been at Miami and Florida State, so we've had some really tough games there at Virginia Tech. So it was always fun competing against them. They were always a very good team.
Mark, in the run-up to Georgia and South Carolina, there was a lot of media attention on whether Will Muschamp's presence on the Georgia staff gave Georgia an advantage. Does Eric Wofford's knowledge of the South Carolina personnel give you any kind of advantage?
That's funny. You think anything had to do with it, those beasts that Georgia has on their team? Just a little.
But there's no advantage to having a coach that knows another team's roster well?
I mean, very little, very little. This is a different team, you know, different mentality, you know, so. I mean, Will, I love Will and have great respect for Will and friends with Will, but man, Georgia's got pretty good players.
It's been a different team. Last year, y'all had a pretty, he went 24 unanswered or something at some point against those guys at home, and they had a different venue, and you know, they got some different personnel and coach staff, obviously. What can you take away from, because that game's a little more recent than it was, you know?
Yeah, not much, just because of the situation that they were in last year. I think very different. You know, down a lot of guys, you know, coaching change in the middle of the season, guys opting out, not playing. Very different. This is the front end, so everybody's trying to prove themselves, and there's a great energy and very fundamentally sound in all areas. So, you know, they're very motivated.
Is there any, I mean, I know they have a couple of good running backs, and the quarterback situation there is kind of fluid.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect the preparation?
Not much. Very good backs, very balanced. Either quarterback will run their offense. You know, similar to us in some ways. You know, you see some under center, you see the run game carryover, you see the play action, you see the shots. I feel like they have some guys that can hurt you outside. They have some difference makers at wide receiver, but they also, you know, have some really good backs. So, you know, very, very good team.
Mark, Isaiah Cummings got his first TD pass. How's he coming along in that transition?
Yeah, he made a really nice play on that. It's something little, again, Liam had a great design there, and it was beautifully executed, to be honest with you. It was a change up off a corner route, and he hit the corner with a double move, and it turned into a beautiful touchdown. So great by Wilson, hanging in the pocket, good protection, really nice route by Isaiah.
Is he coming along?
Yeah,
It just shows me
oh yeah,
his progress.
definitely.
I don't know, I mean, I kind of felt like Chattanooga their experience would play into that a lot. Did you just watch it? Do you think that, and do you think just going forward, just college football in general, that teams, you know, will be because of the way things are
Well, that's a great point that I said going into it. You know, I know their defense coordinator, I know their defense, and they're good. They have a lot of snaps under their belt, and you know, especially at linebacker and then their nickel, which are all critical positions. I mean, those guys have seen a lot of football, and they're very fundamentally sound. They have different change-ups, but they understand themselves, and so you know, I thought they did some really good things.
Mark, how has J.J. Weaver handled the additional reps the last 2 weeks? You all weren't necessarily planning on playing him this much.
Probably putting a lot on him, you know, to be honest with you. You know, so need to try to be conscientious of that, and try to back off a touch for him.
Is it mentally a little more for him to keep up with, or the physical aspect?
I think it's a bit of both. You know, his knee, it's not like you're putting him in jeopardy. That's not it. It's just getting his legs back up underneath him so he can play as fast as we need him to play in critical moments and predictable pass and things that he's good at. We all know we need some pass rush. Well, he's a guy that can do it if he's fresh and rested and coming in certain situations. You know, so.
Mark, on the punt returns, it seems like you had Wandale back a little bit farther than the punt was actually going. And what do you tell him in terms of fielding goes?
Yeah, we lost some yardage in that. We lost yardage on a penalty. We lost yardage on a were three opportunities. There was a hold, and then we lost on the punt returns. We lost significant yardage as well, letting it bounce and roll, and that put us in a bad situation. It backed us up, and wasn't good. You know, so overall, we have some things to clean up in that area.
It seems like one of the strengths of South Carolina's team is defensive line, maybe front seven as a whole.
Yeah.
For your offensive line after last week, I guess how motivated do you think they'll be to?
I'm sure they're going to be motivated, but definitely, I thought they had some good-looking personnel as well. You know, and those guys are playing really hard and fundamentally sound up front for South Carolina. They had some good-looking guys up there that are playing good. So definitely, we have to play better.
Mark, going back to Sean's question about Wandale,
Mm-hmm.
judging punts, like when to come up and try to make the catch and when to let it bounce, how much of that is a learned skill and how much of that is just having a feel for that?
A little bit of both. So, you know, number one, we kept on, field position was a factor. That's part of it, not fielding it, you know, but also letting them drive. So, and also letting them be in some situations where I kept the defense on there. I wanted to get the ball back. I didn't want to let them fake us. So we're in some punt safe. Well, he doesn't have protection on that. Now that doesn't mean, you know, he still has to field it. So on those, you know, he has to be comfortable knowing that even if we're not going for a big return, fielding is a big deal. And I think taking it off the foot, reacting to it quicker, you know, being confident, getting more reps in that stadium, get up underneath it and get it. He'll get it done. And you know, so we just got to continue to work with him there.
I know you probably weren't watching the game, but Mike Edwards had 2 pick sixes yesterday.
Yeah.
I know you've coached some great DBs. You ever seen 2 pick sixes and like that?
I have not. I can't recall 2 pick sixes. No. But well, obviously we're in the office working, and then somebody said, yeah, you know, you're just walking back and forth and doing our thing, working on Sunday, and I heard it from somebody in the hallway. Mike had a pick six. I'm like, great. And I heard it again. I'm like, no, I already heard that. And they're like, oh, another one. So saw some highlights. So really happy for him.
Mark, the decision to take the ball at the beginning of the game after the coin toss, is that, what's your mindset when making a decision like that?
You know, it just depends. It depends. You know, there's a lot of factors. You know, how I feel. You know, we're with our openers, how we feel like we're going to move the ball or not. In general, a lot of times I like to defer. A lot of coaches will tell you that, because if you can get it to where you win the middle 8, you know, you win the last 3-4 minutes of the first half. As a defensive coach, if you have to defend at the end of the first half and then come right back out and defend again at the start of the second half, can put pressure on teams. But you don't know. There's there's factors, you just don't know. Sometimes it's your gut, sometimes it's your instincts, sometimes it's, you know, what players may want to do, and so there's different factors each and every week.
Mark, it looked like Jeremy Flax was getting snaps at left tackle. Is that because he was playing well, or because Rosenthal wasn't?
A little bit of both, but Jeremy's got to continue to come along. You know, we gave him an opportunity there, and same with Austin Johnson. And you know, I was very disappointed with him getting a penalty there, and you know, it's uncalled for. He tried to get some guys some snaps and bring some guys along. It helps, you know, with Kenneth and Dare, you know, both guys maybe physically, you know, you feel like over a long time they need some, you know, some plays off, you know, some protection. And